This being the quad motor has 835 horsepower, I believe. So let's just launch it and see what happens. Welcome back. I'm Tedward, and welcome to a windy day in the canyons in Southern California. And we have a good one for you today. I'm driving the Rivian R1T. And finally, we're behind the wheel of the eagerly awaited electric pickup truck. It's a bit smaller than an F-150 Lightning, but it's a bit bigger than a Ranger. And this one is outfitted with the Adventure Pack, the quad motor producing over 800 horsepower, and the mid-size battery, which is called large, sort of in Starbucks terms. You know, a tall is a small. So that means this is going to do over 300 miles on the range, which is going to do you just fine. It'll charge at 220 kilowatts, which is pretty darn fast. Not top of the class, but certainly fast enough to not have you sitting around at your superchargers all the time. And today, we are going to be using this as directed. The beauty of an electric pickup truck is that you get a frunk as well. And like I said, I'm on the move today, so I am actually adventuring in my Adventure Rivian. But this is deep enough to give you space for some luggage, which is great, in addition to the fact that you have a button down here. Great. And I just think the front end of this thing looks so good. It's on air suspension, so it can raise and lower itself, which is also helpful because it allows you to have a more comfortable ride. You can soften it and stiffen it. You also have this storage right here, which is great. So this freaks me out just a little bit because it means that you could like put a human in here. Now there are like escape buttons here, but still, that is alarming. I'm pretty claustrophobic and I am going to choose not to go in there. But I like the idea that if the frunk is full, you've got 4 people in there, you can still put luggage back here and not have to have it open in the bed. If you can hear off in the distance, the chainsaw's going. A telephone pole fell down with the tree. Pretty outrageous day out here. We're going to do our best to stay out of trouble. Now the truck bed will open itself. Apparently not right now. And it's a reasonable space. Everything has this nice plastic down there. And on both sides, you've got some goodies. On this side, we've got an air compressor. And on this side, we've got some power outlets. Pretty valuable stuff to be able to plug in your tools, or in my case, I'm going to go down to the beach and plug in my laptop. In the back, reasonable space back here. Nice flat floor with this sort of like robust carpet. Definitely get the idea that you can do some pretty aggressive stuff to that and not have trouble cleaning it. I do love the design of these seats. And when we jump in back here, we've got a little room to hang a coat as well as USB-C chargers in the headrest. So that way you can pop your phones in. Nice airy cabin because of this giant glass roof. I've seen Johnny Lieberman say that he tinted his to get the interior temperatures to stay even lower, which could certainly be helpful here in Southern California. But right now I'm feeling good. We've even got some controls back here for rear heated seats and climate control. Very nice, very good stuff, very comfortable, and plenty of headroom. And before we jump in and go for a drive, I do want to just make note of this. Now you've got your cameras down here. It's so easy to see everything from inside, but also just like my Honda Civic Type R, you've got this little vent going through, probably to help lower pressure in the wheel wells and make this thing a little more stable on the highway and slippery. That's what we like. So let's get in, jump down the canyon, and head down to the beach because Malibu is calling my name right now and I'm living my best LA life. To pop the Rivian in gear, we have our foot on the brake and throw it and drive. Now, I've got the key in my pocket, so it just knows. I don't have to hit any kind of funky start-stop button or anything of that nature. And the key is actually pretty cool. You've got the Rivian key, and it's a carabiner, which I kind of dig. The only issue I think I have with this key, and it's just hard to feel this little notch right here. So it's taken me a little while to get used to knowing which one is the lock and unlock button on a dark night. We've got some storage up front. We've also got another couple chargers here and a clever little spot for your wires to come through without damaging them. I love that. Cup holders. And down here, let's show you another trick thing. There's actually a removable Bluetooth speaker, Rivian labeled. So that way, you get to the campfire, you can pop that out, and you're good to go. So, into drive, and off we go. This being the quad motor has 835 horsepower, I believe. So let's just launch it and see what happens. Oof. That is alarming. Electric cars have really changed the game when it comes to acceleration and what to expect from a car. It's always interesting though, because while a fast turbocharged supercar may not have the 0 to 30 times that these kinds of things can do, they are able to continue pulling, whereas these EVs, they taper off at the higher speeds. So, you know, the 0 to 60s on these can look really shocking, but then from, 60 to 120, they're going to fall away. But by no means is this going to disappoint you in a straight line. It's pretty outrageous. Lots of debris on the roads. I've been driving like supercars for the last few days, and I'm really happy that I'm in this Rivian right now because A, my back could use a break. These seats are very comfortable. And I don't want to have to be popping up the nose lift every time I go somewhere. And oftentimes when I'm going somewhere in those supercars, it's the gas station. I don't need to go to a gas station today, but I will probably charge it up just a little bit to make sure that we're not in any trouble later on. But with a 300 plus mile range, this is okay. This is going to get you where you need to go. And even though everywhere in LA takes forever to get to, it's always an hour to everything, it's fine because it's not that far. And actually, the slower you go in an electric vehicle, the better your range is going to be, because the real killer of range is being on the highway at 75, 80 miles per hour. When you're pushing all that air, that is what does it in. That's when your range starts to fall precipitously. Comfort-wise, this is lovely. I'm currently in soft mode on the car, and it's still a little bouncy. And it's not in a bad way. It's in a way that I'm like, oh, okay, this is capable of towing like 11,000 pounds, and I don't really have anything in it. So naturally, it's probably going to be a little bit bouncy over some of the bumps, but not in an alarming way, not in an unsettling way. It's just not a Rolls Royce, but why should it be? It's a pickup truck. One pedal driving, it has a few different settings. I'm on the standard mode, the default mode. I prefer this mode to the high regen because the high regen I think is just a little too, it's too much for me. Maybe I'd get used to it, but I don't like the sensation of pulling off the throttle and going through the windshield. I want to have a little bit of leeway. And when I apply the brakes, it's not like I'm engaging the calipers immediately. If I get into these brakes, it's just going to give me the full regen. So some people are really into the full-blown one-pedal driving all of the time. I just want to have enough that I'm getting some deceleration off throttle and use the brakes for the rest of it. The screen is just massive and convenient, and more importantly, we have the Pacific Ocean right off the nose. Oh, God, I love California. I've been seeing a lot of these things out there, and I do have a few qualms about the R1T. And it's not about the driving. I think Rivian has done an incredible job making a cohesive driving platform. And the build quality feels, like a step above the Teslas. That's really nice. The things that annoy me about these cars is some of the things that you have to do through the infotainment screen. For example, I want to change my steering wheel position, I have to go through the screen. Now, you could argue that Tesla does the same thing, but I would rather see Rivian say, you know what, let's give them physical buttons over here and over there and allow you to say, hey, I need to change this. Where would it naturally be? Same goes for the mirrors. That is very frustrating and I would argue dangerous for car makers to have non-adjustable mirrors on a button, on a switch. I have to go through this screen to get to adjust my mirrors. That is bonkers. It means I have to the point of my mirrors is to help me see. And if I'm in a pinch and I'm like, ooh, I need to change that quickly, chances are I'm not in a position where I can take my eyes off the road, enter a menu, and adjust accordingly. So that is very frustrating. But that's my only qualm, and that is something that I think hopefully maybe will be changed in future generations. I do have to say though, the future of digital technology controlling things is really bothersome to me. It's one of the reasons why I like my Honda, because a lot of stuff is still very second nature, very natural. You have great normal HVAC controls and all that stuff. But I digress. I could wax poetic about the importance of analog gauges and physical buttons all I want. I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but I'm not going to be a mean critical jerk about it. I just beg of automakers to please give us buttons for things where they absolutely need to be. The center display, phenomenal job, Rivian, phenomenal job. I think the F-150 Lightning, among all Fords really, have really bad user interfaces. I dislike the Ford screens in a big way. I really dislike the tablets in the center. I really dislike the way they display information to the driver on the dashboard. This looks fantastic, and it seems to be just seamlessly integrated where we have our speed, our transmission, my regen, my power, and then over here, oh, this delicious moving map that tells me everything I need to know and nothing I don't. Good on you, Rivian. Good on this view. Oh my goodness. Look at this, look at this, look at this. We're in our adventure vehicle. We might as well take a second to just appreciate this. And that's the beauty of having a truck like this, is you don't have to really think. You can just say, oh, we'll pull off here and we can get the view. Look at that. Unbelievable. And if there's a tight turn in a Lamborghini coming down the other way, I can get up to speed nice and fast. All right, I'm going to turn my climate control back on. Throw that into there. Great. Gives me all of my information. Great. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to live with this for a little while to really get comfortable and confident with where buttons are. I still feel annoyed by touch screens because they're not second nature. It's the same way that I can have an annoyance looking for where the buttons are on the key fob. They all look the same to me. But, living with a vehicle for any period of time usually settles out those types of things. Make sure this guy's good. Cool. And the beauty of an EV is that while we're descending into Malibu, I can be holding my speed with one pedal driving and putting energy back into the batteries. Regen is a beautiful thing. And as much as I love the sound of that Huracan Technica on the overrun coming down this very same hill, there's something to be said knowing that I'm going to get to my destination with more juice than I started with at the top. That's a beautiful thing. Lots of damage from the wind last night, man. Be careful out here. Look, they've already got these trees done. look at this. California Fire Department, man. They really operate quick. Doing a great job putting that power down. You can feel it start to slip on that inside rear, but not by much. And even then, it was still propelling me along aggressively. This can also do the infamous, or I shouldn't say infamous because it's not a bad thing, the famous tank turn, which means you can put it on a loose surface, and because you have a motor at each wheel, it can actually skid steer essentially around in a circle and pivot about this axis. Very cool stuff. This is just so easy to drive. But I will say it's a little difficult to park if you're not used to a truck. It is big, it is a little goofy, but the cameras help a lot. And gotta say, it fits in pretty much everywhere because it's a little bougie because it's a Rivian, but it's also a truck. So your truck friends aren't necessarily gonna make fun of you because you can use it as such, and it's pretty outrageously capable off-road, and it'll do the thing and operate as a pickup truck. But also, you know, it's an EV, so your modern friends who demand you use less fuel and all the things will be proud of you for your Rivian. So I'm gonna go pull up to this beach, find a spot to park, and have a nice day at work here in Southern California. Thank you guys so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one. I do love some car spotting in Southern California. Check this out. We've got this beautiful E39 M5. Of course I'm biased because, you know, I own an M5. That's the stuff. Oh, I saw that car earlier. I took a picture of that car the other day. No kidding. Funny when you start remembering license plates. That's how you know you're an uber nerd.